there, Rub-a-Dub subs, it's Blackmetalwerewolf making a brand new video for you this week. And today we are going to be doing some sewing. Today I'm going to be sewing a Dark Throne True Norwegian black metal patch onto my new jacket. Well, I suppose I shouldn't say new jacket anymore because I've had that for about 7 years or so, but I recently decided to cut the sleeves off of it and turn it into a vest. And I wanted to make a new vest, a new battle vest for quite some time, so that is what I am doing today. I already have a few patches onto it. I have a big Immortal patch on the back, and then I have the Abath and Immortal logo patches on the front there. But I got a whole bunch of new patches I want to throw on there. So just so everyone who is watching knows this, I'm not necessarily sure if what I'm doing is correct when it comes to sewing, because I essentially had to teach myself how to sew. I remember when I first wanted to learn, I asked so many people if they could teach me, but every time I would ask, they would ask me, what do you want to know how to sew for? And I'd say, well, I want to put some heavy metal patches onto a jacket or a vest. And every fucking time I told them that, they would shoot me down and just say, no, I'm not teaching you that. That's a stupid thing to learn how to sew for. You don't need to learn for that. And then they would just essentially tell me to go fuck myself. So I had to teach myself. So what I'm doing is self-taught. I went into Walmart and bought a pretty small sewing kit and just said, fuck it, I'll teach myself. It can't be that hard. Obviously, I cut the audio in this because there are a couple times where I stabbed myself 3 or 4 times in a row trying to get the same spot. It was pretty funny, but I obviously didn't want to be swearing like the Tourette's guy on camera. So I just finished up at the Dark Throne patch there, and I moved on to the second patch, which is an Immortal patch. And I'll go into a bit more depth here. So as you can see in the patch there's a small purple dot there, and that is a holding pin. So whenever you're sewing, what you do is you put a small pin into it, and you stick it in the spot where you want it to go. Just so while you're sewing, it's not moving around and you're messing the whole thing up. So I always do that with every patch. Even though I've been sewing for years, I still feel more comfortable using the holding pin to hold it in place. So I edited out the part of me threading the needle because it's, I suppose, not that important. It's a pretty easy thing to do once you get the hold of it. First-time sewers, you will have a bit of a hard time trying to thread the needle. So every time I sew, I always start in the top right corner. I just go from there and I go down the right side and then along the bottom, and I stop at the left corner, and then I get a new line of thread and go from there. The reason I do that is because I don't want to grab too much thread when I'm doing it, because when I take too much thread, it ends up getting tangled on me, and it just becomes a pain in the ass, and sometimes I just have to end up ripping it out and starting the whole thing all over because it gets too tangled on me. There are some spots in here I had to edit out, actually, for that very reason, because it kept getting tangled and I had to start over. It was a bit of a pain in the butt. As you can see, I'm actually fighting with it there, trying to get everything untangled to go forward from there. So yeah, I really do enjoy sewing. I find it very relaxing. What I like to do is I get some patches, sit down, turn on some music, a TV show, a movie. What I was doing here, I actually found some episodes of Monster Quest on YouTube and had that going in the background while I was sewing. It's a show I really love. I'm pretty interested in cryptozoology, and essentially any documentary on Bigfoot I'm always interested in. So yeah, it's a pretty nerdy thing to get into, but I always love it, and it's something to have on in the background while I am sewing. So as you can see here, I am nearing the bottom left corner, and I'm going to be turning it over in a second to knot it off. Yeah, so as you can see, I sew down the right and the bottom, and then what I do is I just knot it a whole bunch of times in the corner. I just do it over and over and over again, just because I feel that's more secure, and I like doing it in the corner that way. And so once I'm done knotting it off there, I just cut off any excess thread I need, and then start a whole new line of thread. I edited out me getting it. So essentially what I do for that is I take the line of the thread and I roll the spool down to my elbow, and then I grab that part and then go down to my elbow again. So it's double threaded, and it's a good length so I don't get tangled up there like I was saying before. And so then once I got my new line of thread, I started in the left bottom left corner, I go up the left side, and then I go across the top. As you can see here, I'm clearly doing a lot better job going up the left and top than I was doing the other sides. For some reason, the other sides were just getting tangled. Maybe it's because I was trying to focus on the episode of Monster Quest sewing and trying to see if it looks good on camera while I'm doing it. That's probably what was confusing me and getting me all knotted up. But once I ignored all that, I just focused on the sewing, and I was on fire, just boom, boom, next spot. So between each stitch, I try to go about 1/2 centimeter. To me, that seems like a good enough distance between each stitch that it's not too noticeable, and it holds the patch on relatively well. There are times when I first started sewing that I did way too big of gaps between each stitch, and I ended up having to rip the patch out and do it all over again once I was more experienced at sewing. So it's obviously a skill that you need to practice at, and you will not get on your first try. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Now I can do usually a patch this big would take me half an hour to 45 minutes, but now it can take me 15 minutes or less. And so as you can see, I am just finishing up there. I'm just getting the last right in the corner and then onto the back again just to knot it up again. So it's nice and secure in the corners. That's the one thing I'm always focused on because, I don't know, for some reason I'm always paranoid that the corners are going to come in loose. But on every patch that on my jacket that's coming loose, it's never been the corners. It's always been the side or the top. So yeah, I'm just sewing it up there, getting it good and tight so it will not come off, even though it never has. And boom, off with the excess thread. So once I'm done that, I have 2 brand new patches sewn onto my jacket. I think they look pretty darn good, and I hope you guys think so too. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video, and share it with a few of your friends while you're at it. If you want to keep up with me on a more daily basis, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a PO box open. All of that info is down in the description. I also have a handful of patches left, so if you'd like to get your very own, you can click the annotation on the screen. There will also be a link in the description. Overall, thank you very much for watching, guys. And don't forget to stay brutal.